Welcome back to the channel and thank you for watching. So Amber Heard has broken silence, as the headline goes. So I thought I would give you my instant reactions to the interview and a few legal questions that might be posed as to what she's doing and why she's doing it. So without further ado, let's get into the interview.
I don't care what one thinks about me or what judgments you want to make about what happened in the privacy of my own home and my marriage.
Okay, just pausing there straight away. If she didn't care about what people thought about her, she wouldn't be doing an interview. That's my first thought.
I don't presume the average person should know those things, and so I don't take it personally. But even somebody who is sure I'm deserving of all this hate and vitriol, even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation. You cannot tell me that you think that this has been fair.
Just pausing there, a fair representation on social media. Well, social media was a direct response to the trial and comments made in the trial. I've seen some comments which I think are unfair, but the other way around, because I've seen some people saying that they don't think the jury should have found in favour of Johnny Depp, having openly admitted that they never watched any of the trial, haven't looked at any of the evidence, haven't reviewed anything at all, and yet still side with Amber Heard. So, to be quite honest, I've seen comments on social media that I don't think are fair, but the other way around, because they didn't watch any of the trial. Those, admittedly, some of them might be making some comments the other way around, having not watched the trial and not heard the evidence and making some comments in criticism about Amber. However, one thing they will have found during the trial is that they heard of the jury verdict. The jury verdict was unanimous. So, in that sense, I think it is fair if there are comments against Amber, and for very good reason, because I feel that by making false allegations, and these are, as the jury found, to be false allegations, otherwise they wouldn't have upheld the defamation claim. Since they are false allegations, it is very damning against those that do have real allegations and are trying to uphold some conviction of allegations against them for all kinds of different things. For those people, I think it is quite upsetting that someone does come to court and makes false allegations and ultimately, as the jury saw it, lie straight to the jury. And if you caught my previous video just earlier today, there are lots of inconsistencies in the evidence given by Amber Heard, both to the UK court and the US court. If you look at the evidence as a whole, it's quite inconsistent. But anyway, let's watch some more.
Of course, we also touched on what happened in court and what the jury decided. There's no polite way to say it. The jury looked at the evidence you presented. They listened to your testimony, and they did not believe you. They thought you were lying.
How could, I'll put it this way, how could they make a judgment? How could they not come to that conclusion? They had sat in those seats and heard over 3 weeks of non-stop, relentless testimony.
I'll just pause there. It's precisely because they heard weeks of evidence. They did sit through and they heard both sides of the evidence. And they did come to a judgment. That is exactly what we ask a jury to do. Difficult as it might be. I've received messages today from some friends who have sat in trials which are on some quite horrendous cases, which I will spare you the details for. But having heard my friends, which are members of the public, commenting on quite horrendous cases in court, where the jury are asked to sit through and listen to all of that evidence, we do trust that the jury will come back with a verdict. And many say that they trust the verdict of a jury more than they do of a judge, because it's a number of people, it's not just one person. One person alone with bias or prejudice cannot sway a jury. They might be able to sway the jury in the sense that something is not upheld, but that might be the way that it should be. Whereas where you get a jury verdict where everyone is unanimous in their verdict, they are all in agreement, that is precisely what the justice system is supposed to trust. Now, in the United States, of course, jury trials are held for both civil and criminal cases. In the United Kingdom, we retain the jury for criminal cases, and only the most serious criminal cases at that. Below that, we have magistrates and district judges for lower level criminal cases. But for all Crown Courts and inquests, and with the possibility of a few other exceptions, we retain the jury. Why? We retain the jury because we trust the jury to come back with an objective assessment of all of the evidence. That is why we trust the jury.
From paid employees, and towards the end of the trial, randos, as I say.
Just to pick up on this point, paid employees, well, obviously referring to experts, but experts on both sides might be paid, and that makes absolutely no difference. The experts swear an oath to deliver their information and their opinions to the court in just the same way as any other witness would, irrespective of being paid for it. When they are being paid for it, it's because it's a professional opinion. But it's exactly that. It's a professional opinion. If someone is delivering a professional opinion to the court, again, this is something that the court trusts. And in this sense, it's the jury once again. So you've got experts giving evidence for both sides, and the jury considered the evidence from both sides. And again, the jury came to a verdict. Let's listen on.
So you don't blame the jury?
I don't blame them. It wasn't... I don't blame them. I actually understand. He's a beloved character, and people feel they know him. He's a
Just pausing there again. Clearly, this is referencing Johnny Depp as being a film star, and that is the reason that they didn't believe Amber. And again, I don't buy this argument because, again, it's the entire jury. Even if all but one members of the jury absolutely loved Johnny Depp, that one member would clearly throw out the unanimous verdict. But in any event, it's simpler than that. Again, I come back to this notion that we trust the jury, we trust the jury system, and we trust it to be objective and correct. And I, for one, trust in that system. Let's listen on.
Him. He's a fantastic actor.
Their job is to not be dazzled by that.
Exactly right.
Their job is to look at the facts and the evidence. And they did not believe your testimony or your evidence.
Again, how could they, after listening to 3.5 weeks of testimony about how I was a non-credible person, not to believe a word that came out of my mouth?
So I think that this is very much an act of publicity, and I've got one or two ideas to throw out there and possibilities that might be the reason for all of this. Now, you've heard interviews by Camille Vasquez and Ben Chu alluding to the possibility that they won't force Amber to pay up on the judgment amount. Now, bearing in mind that she cannot write this off with bankruptcy, I don't know if everyone is clear about that, but she cannot just file for bankruptcy and nullify this judgment amount. It will remain owing. There are certain types of debts that will remain owing, and in the United States, at the very least, this is one of them. So here's one idea to throw out there for consideration, where she is perhaps, or her lawyers are perhaps, negotiating with Johnny Depp's lawyers about some kind of settlement. There may be an idea to get some form of confidentiality within that agreement if they don't seek to enforce that amount against her. However, knowing that that's probably on the horizon, if that is something that they are looking into, Amber and her lawyers would doubtless have discussed making some kind of public statement ahead of the game to prevent her side from never coming out as such. Because otherwise, if she does enter some confidentiality arrangement, then she wouldn't be able to say things like this. But of course, at the moment, she can, and she is. Another angle to throw up is this. Perhaps she's being paid for these interviews. I don't know. Speculation warning, but maybe she's being paid for these interviews. Maybe she's looking for some other kind of publicity that she might be getting paid for as well. Either way, there are a number of ways of enforcing judgments, such as attachments to earnings and all of these kind of things, whereby when somebody earns money, then an attachment can be made to force them to pay over that money in priority because they are a judgment debtor, because there's an amount outstanding. So those are my thoughts in the round. It seems like Amber just thinks it isn't fair and she can't believe that the jury don't believe her. That's my take on it. I think she's just shocked that the jury don't believe her. I think she expected the jury to believe her. And with all respect to her, I would expect her to be a great deal more upset on camera talking about this than she is if her allegations were all true, and if she really just couldn't believe that the jury didn't believe what she says is the truth. So as always, I'd appreciate your comments, thoughts below. I would love for you to like this video and subscribe to see more of my thoughts and analysis from across here in the United Kingdom. And as always, thank you very much for watching.